I used to be a big fan of Sony's. I really enjoyed their consoles. I loved the exclusive games that they provided to the market. But several years ago, they began on a journey that turned me away from their products as a consumer. They started becoming very strict with their third party titles, forcing the content to be changed if the games were too risky, if they had a bit too much mature or adult themed content. And as a consumer, I do not want to support a company that is forcing developers to change their work that has been given a proper rating for the system. Sony, since about 2016, has been very censorship heavy when it comes to mature or adult themed content, and today we are discussing how Sony, the suits that are giving the okay for games, are being massive hypocrites, and I really want to tell you why they do not deserve your money. Now, I am not saying that you cannot go out and purchase their products if you really want them, but I just want you to listen to how hypocritical Sony has become. Today we will be discussing The Last of Us 2, a highly anticipated game, a game that I myself am pretty excited for, and how Sony has decided to cram nudity and sexual content into it. Now, I want to be clear and say that I do not mind this content. I think that it is perfectly fine for Sony to have nudity and sexual content in a game, but as the development has gone on with this game for several years, Sony employees at the same time have been forcing smaller developers to censor their content that could be very similar to this, or else it does not get onto the platform. The Last of Us Part 2 gets unsurprising MESRB rating. The Last of Us 2 has received an M for mature rating from the ESRB. That isn't surprising, but good to know in case you're wondering if the sequel to another M-rated game might be somewhat suitable for your children. Obviously, if the first game was rated M, the second one is most likely going to be rated M. If they downgrade a game's rating, usually a lot of people do not like that because they are toning it down in a sense. On the official The Last of Us Part 2 website showcases an official M ESRB rating and includes the following content descriptors: blood and gore, intense violence, nudity, sexual content, strong language, and use of drugs. We obviously do not know what will happen in the game, though there are rumors that, of course, we will be getting an explicit scene between Ellie and her girlfriend, so I am sure that we can all guess what sort of scenes will be in the game. Let's look back at Devil May Cry 5. In patch 1.1 on the PlayStation 4, they added flares over Trish's naked bottom for about 20 seconds or so that it would be on screen. And there were statements floating around that they censored it due to Sony's policies. Now, Capcom did go back after a few weeks and they did create a patch which uncensored it, but if there wasn't fan backlash, they most likely wouldn't have. Senran Kagura 7 Even was also a game that had a lot of problems. The developers actually scrapped the game from the ground up in fear that it would not pass Sony's strict content policies, and the producer actually resigned from Marvelous Entertainment, saying that he could not deal with these policies any longer and that he was worried for the future of the business of fan service-esque games. Another Senran Kagura game, Burst Renewal, was censored as well. They removed the intimacy mode from the game due to respecting the wishes of the platform holder, indicating that Sony Interactive Entertainment had an issue with the mode. These are just a few examples of games that Sony has unfairly forced censorship upon, but the point is that these games contain less explicit content than what is even rumored in The Last of Us Part 2. None of these games contain, well, penetration or fully nude scenes, besides Trish's butt. And to top all of that off, back in April, a Sony spokeswoman confirmed the existence of a censorship policy that had been added into place recently, which they had said was added into place for Western audiences. She said the company wanted to help protect children and that it was a direct response to American societal developments, meaning things such as the hashtag #MeToo movements. We all knew that there were new policies put into place, but to hear the reasons for them from a spokesperson honestly baffled me, because there is no explanation as to what the policy is, and they are obviously not applying it equally. There is no written guidelines for developers, and many developers have said that, and said that they are struggling to create content for Sony platforms. As I said at the beginning, I am not bothered by the content that Sony is allowing in this game. I want it to exist for consumers interested in purchasing it. I am a defender of adult-themed content at this point, but the hypocrisy radiating from Sony is immense. Because The Last of Us Part 2 is a first-party game, it seems like they are allowing their teams of developers to create whatever content they think will make the most money without restrictions. And I believe that developers from anywhere in the world, whether they are creating first or third-party games, should be able to create and publish the content that they feel confident in. Games are art and they deserve to show off what they've created. But that is all that I have really had to discuss today. I truly just wanted to discuss Sony and the sheer hypocrisy that is going on in their company. We see content that is less adult-based be censored, yet of course in their first-party titles they are allowing developers to create whatever they want that will make them the most money without restrictions. But please share this video if you find it important. If you enjoyed it, please make sure to give it a like, and of course if you did not, make sure to give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I will talk to you all again in the next video really soon.